Good evening. I will be talking to you about the then and now video reflection prompt of Enter the Villain against oral reading in secondary schools. Then, uh, what was my experience when reading aloud as a secondary student? I was very anxious. I was very nervous. I would find myself reading ahead so that when it came to my assigned paragraph, I knew what I was talking about and I sound well practiced and didn't mess up or stutter. Did my teachers read aloud? They would start us off, but it was more student-led, unlike today where we hold the cognitive load, which I wish we could put down. Did many of our teachers require students to read aloud? They did a lot of cold calls. Like if they thought that you weren't paying attention or you haven't said anything all day or I want to pick on you. They did a lot of requirements. And which content areas was reading aloud utilized the most? Mainly like ELA, reading, maybe a health class every once in a while. Did you look forward to reading aloud in class? Absolutely not. I was undiagnosed dyslexic. I was pulled out for speech all the time. And I really just was shy and sat in the back of the class because reading was not my fun, unlike today. Did you engage in popcorn reading? Yes. I was very grateful when there was no minimum. There was no minimum. So I would read like 2 sentences and pass it on because I really didn't want the light on me, or I just didn't feel like reading. Do any instances of reading aloud in grades 6 through 12 still reside in your memory? Not really. Like I said, I've learned to love reading. Not reading out loud, but reading in general. Did you benefit more from oral reading or silent reading as a secondary student? I would say silent reading because I was able to slowly read and process, other than oral reading where I had a whole audience of people listening to me struggle with one word. Because if I do it silently, I can be like, whatever that word is, and then I can go back and Google it. My now as a current physical education teacher for K through 6, and then future health teacher for secondary. How do you intend to utilize oral reading in your classroom? First, I'd start by building the community of my classroom that if somebody messes up on the word, it happens. Move forward, help them out. I'll try to give them a warm warning, like, hey, in a few minutes I'm going to make you read this paragraph. Or no code calls. I think code calls are used to set kids up. Fragner points out that many secondary teachers utilize oral reading so that all students are exposed to the content of the text. Would you use this rationale in your classroom? I do agree that all students should be exposed to the text, but I think I could give them a few minutes to silently read or partner read rather than orally read in front of the whole classroom. How do you plan to balance the use of silent and oral reading in your classroom? Fragner worries that teachers who often revert to oral reading because it's simpler to manage than having students each read the text silently. What are your thoughts? I agree that some students can get off task, but that is what aggressive monitoring is for. That is what rigor is for, exit tickets, stop and jots, and other modalities for keeping students engaged. Oral reading doesn't ensure that they're understanding and comprehending what we're talking about. Oral reading means you put them on the spot and they're reading left to right. You could ask them immediately after what did they read, and they couldn't tell you because they're performing. For students who struggle with reading and or presenting aloud in your classroom, talk to me through your process in supporting them during oral reading. This year, my students took a learning style test, so I got to know what kind of learner they are, auditory, kinesthetic, or visual learners. So I think that's important to know. They might not be able to read it to you, but they might be able to verbalize it in a different way. It might be their work, the way that they write it. It might be how they talk about it. It might be how they test. I don't think that this one thing should be determined the students' abilities. There's always a quiet person. There's always an ELL student. There's always someone who just doesn't enjoy reading to an audience. I think there are more pressing matters. But in order to support them during oral reading, I wouldn't mind giving them a buddy. I wouldn't mind giving them the material earlier so that they can have time to practice it. Again, with building the culture of the classroom. Yeah, that's how I would support a struggling student. Thank you for your time.